Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 418 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week. Kicking things off with the owner of MTG Goldfish, Richard. How are you this fine Monday, Richard?
I'm okay. I'm a little bit under the weather. Hopefully my voice holds up, but otherwise excited to finish up Phyrexia All Will Be One previews.
Yeah, we have the full set, and that's going to be one of our big topics for today. But before we get into that, we got another ghost in Krim who's bundling up in a blanket over there. How are you this morning, Krim?
Nice and cozy. My voice is a little hoarse. I went karaokeing for my birthday, so that was
what. Okay, I gotta know, Krim. What did you sing?
I got really ambitious. I thought I could scream "Bring Me the Horizon," and it turns out, yeah, maybe I can't do that as the first song, like to open the night. So
you gotta warm up for that. You gotta warm up, before going there,
yeah. I just went right to the top, and then I felt that. So.
Anyway, our plan for today, we got the full Phyrexia set. We're going to talk about Phyrexia All Will Be One now that we've seen the whole set. We also got a bit of other news. There's some Hasbro news, which is kind of scary, kind of interesting. There's some more secret layers, of course, always a secret layer around the corner. And then we want to get to some fish mail because we haven't gotten to much over the past couple weeks. So that is the main plan for today. Before we get into it, though, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit. And Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you're tired of all the hassles that go into buy listing your cards, well, Card Conduit lets you skip them. You don't have to do all the typing and spend all the time and all the hard work. With their curated service, you can send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay a 5% service fee. And if you want to put in a bit of effort on your end, you can use this sorted service where you list and sort your cards ahead of time and pay just a 2% fee. And no matter which option you choose, you're going to get a detailed report with the results and a fast payment once your order is processed. And right now, you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/mtggoldfish. Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And let's talk some Phyrexia. And we do have some spoilers that we're going to get into. But before we do that, I got to ask you, now that we've seen the full set, where are we at with the overall power level of this set? Like, compared to other recent sets, stuff in standard, higher, lower, about the same. What do you think about the overall power level of Phyrexia All Will Be One?
Oh, I love it, right? Like, it looks really good. I think this is probably one of the, I mentioned it before, but I do think this might be one of, like, the better sets and probably one of the more interesting sets since, like, Kamigawa for me. So I've really liked Kamigawa. All Will Be One looks really fun. I'm excited to see, like, I'm pretty sure we're actually going to have a way bigger splash on Standard and maybe even Pioneer/Explorer with this set.
What do you think, Richard?
I'm not sure about Standard, but I'm pretty sure this is just a power creep set. I see a lot of very strong cards for Commander. We're talking about a bunch of cards that can go into Pioneer and Modern. Surely stuff will happen in Standard, but Standard already has like some pretty powerful stuff going on, so I'm not sure. But they didn't hold back their punches here. This feels like almost a Modern Horizons-esque set for Magic. There's a lot of powerful stuff going on here, and you can kind of see it in the pre-order prices where everything is expensive because everyone thinks all the cards are broken.
It's the pre-order prices are ridiculous. I was actually doing a little math yesterday, and as of last night, the average price of a Mythic was around $20, which is off the charts. Like, almost every Mythic in this set is a home run, and a lot of these are cards that, sure, as people open boxes, the prices are going to drop. I think you're not going to have the random, like, the Mythic Panharmonicon cycle. All of those are not going to maintain $20+ while the set's being opened, but so many of these cards have so much long-term value that, like, a Mythic creature anointed procession, that's something that's going to be expensive in the long term if it isn't reprinted. So I think this is, my initial reaction was strongest set since Eldraine, but then some people were like, I don't know if that's true. Like Kaldheim was strong, or Ikoria was strong, but I'm gonna go with strongest set in standard. I mean, Kamigawa was also really sweet, but I think the power level of this set is very high. Like, I also view it as kind of a power creepy set, but in a really interesting way. There's so many cards I can't wait to brew around, so I'm hyped, and we also get to start playing with the cards. Thursday is the early access day, so come by the MTG Goldfish stream, check out new cards in action on Thursday if you're interested. But anyway, let's talk about some of these spoilers. So Richard, we got a little list of stuff that wasn't out when we last podcasted. Why don't you guide us through some of these cards?
Okay, so the full set is on mtgpreviews.com, and we're going to start off with the namesake card of the set. All will be 1, 3 red. It's a mythic enchantment. Whenever you put one or more counters on a permanent or player, all will be 1 deals that much damage to target opponent, creature and opponent controls, or planeswalker and opponent controls.
So,
all right, hit me with the combos. This is clearly...
Oh, there's a million. There's a million. I think there's like at least 6 2-card combos. Quest for Pure Flames, Talon of Pain, whatever the red something is from the Warhammer decks, the red legend. There's a huge list of cards that just like, if you have all will be 1 with any of these cards and your opponent takes any damage, you start an infinite loop that wins the game. Is this card good though? Like, it's a 5-mana enchantment. Like, let's say, so Quest of Pure Flames, 1-mana enchantment that goes infinite with this. Is that something that's modern playable? Like, is a 2-card, 1-mana enchantment, 5-mana enchantment, win the game, infinite damage? Should we be hyped about this as an actual modern deck? Or are we like, that's a 5-mana enchantment, whatever. Even though it's a 2-card combo, that's just too slow or whatever for a format like modern, and it's a commander thing. Like, is it competitive or against the odds? That's what I'm trying to figure out, and I really don't know.
Like, it's against all odds, actually. Like, I do honestly believe that I don't know. This is more of a commander-y thing, right? I don't know if that's becoming a modern card. That's a bit ambitious in modern, right?
I mean, 2 cards win the game, like Splinter Twin, basically.
No. You can't 5 mana win the game like this. You have to cheat this into play. So, like, what are the supporting things to cheat this into play? But you can't play this fairly in modern, right? Like, you would just die, especially since it does nothing. Like, if you just play it by it doesn't even do anything. So you actually need your 2 cards to win. So can you cheat this into play somehow and like win with the combo? And is that better than any of our other cheaty things into play in modern? I don't think so, but I don't know. I'm sure someone will try something.
I mean, it is red. We see there's like Gruul Ponza decks that are like, Arbor Elf, untap my thing, try to Glory Bringer you or whatever. Like, if you're doing that in modern, you can probably get this on the battlefield. Or like Red Devotion, the combo pieces are also red enchantments, so they're adding pips to the battle. I mean, I'm not saying it's broken, but no.
Because you kill the Glory Bringer, they play a second one and they finish the job. This one, they kill this and your combo's done, right? Like,
yeah,
that is true. I mean, in Commander,
you can Blood Moon him out. Blood Moon's not even good, but like, you can just Blood Moon him out.
Blood Moon him? See, I'm liking this more and more.
I don't even know if Blood Moon is enough to help. I don't know. That's a lot of setup. There's no way, right? This is definitely an against the odds kind of thing.
I feel like you definitely can't play it fairly. Like, the idea of like, oh, I'm playing Hardened Scales, so I'm going to play this for value to deal. No. Like, that's a non-starter. I don't think it's impossible, though, that someone figures out a way to make the combo work. Like,
what about sideboard?
I don't think it's impossible.
Are any of these pieces, like, you play Jund, like real Jund, and you're just like, sideboard, I put this in, right? And I get them because they're not expecting this combo out of nowhere.
This 5-mana sorcery speed surprise.
That's way better than killing with the Tarmogoyf, Krim.
That is the best thing Jund has going these days.
That's true. Huh.
I think this is one of those cards. It's either, for 60 card formats, it's either going to be broken and someone figures out a way how to make the combo work, or it just doesn't see play at all. There's no like middle ground, play it fairly. In Commander, I think it's going to be good. I think in Commander, you can just be like, oh, I'm playing a +1/+1 counter deck. I'll throw this in for fun. Also, the Red Terror, that was the card I was thinking of. Like, it's a legend. If you're playing a Red Terror deck, this is like the best card in your 99 because you have one of your combo pieces in the command zone to start the game. So I think it definitely is going to People are gonna play this card. I don't know if it's gonna be good, but I think people are gonna play it.
It's so boring. You just play it and then you'll win the game. Like these, I don't know about these like 2-card combos being printed into Commander. That's so easy to trigger, right? Like, yeah, we have them. It's called Thoracle, and everyone's so excited about Demonic Consultation and Thoracle, right? So at least like make us somewhat work for it, you know, try to get some synergy going or something, right? This is just like 2 cards win the game, so
I do not remember another card that has went infinite in so many ways, though. Like, I think this is, all the time I've been doing spoilers, I don't think there's been another card where it's just like, wow, there's like 6 infinite combos for this card. Like, I'm almost surprised they printed it without
fun.
any like restriction or anything.
The fair way of playing this is fun, right? And you can't, because the minute you play this, everyone thinks you're gonna combo and tries to murder you, right? But
that is true.
What if you actually wanted to incrementally add counters and like ping things down? Like that seems like the fun way to play this, right? So yeah,
you are gonna get killed in Commander for sure.
Yeah.
Like, because people are gonna think you're gonna drop one of the many combo pieces. It'll be
You
interesting.
also might not even know that you might play a piece and it accidentally goes off with it.
yeah, accidental combos. What do you think about the name being the set name? Is that cheesy? Like, is that they said the movie title and the movie thing that people meme on, the Magic version?
I think this is fine, right? I don't think it's that like on the nose or anything, because I don't know, something about the whole set being like this weird kind of everything melds into one thing, mentally and all of that. Like, yeah, sure, why not? It's like on brand. It would be weird if every set had that, right? I mean,
yeah,
we like if every set just had its name, like there was an actual card just called Throne of Eldraine or something like that.
all right.
Adventures in the
Next up.
Forgotten Realm, Commander Legends, Baldur Gate,
Yeah.
Alchemy. That's not gonna fit on there. Yeah, all right.
Interesting
Carry
card
on.
name. Interesting card name.
Tekethol, Inquiry Dominus, 2 blue, so 4 mana value, 3/5 legendary creature, Phyrexian horror at Mythic, flying. If you would proliferate twice instead. 1 and then 2 Phyrexian blue, so 3 total mana, or 1 and 4 life. Remove 3 counters from among other creatures, artifacts, and planeswalkers you control. Put an indestructible counter on Tekethol.
It's Panharmonicon. It's Panharmonicon.
The whole
It's
cycle is
proliferate.
Panharmonicon. So there's one for every color, and they double something.
Which,
Yeah.
how do you feel about this? Last week you were before you realized this was the cycle, you were trashing the number of Panharmonicons in Magic these days.
It's like total disregard for fair magic. We'll just take everything and double it. God, I hate this so much. There's a whole cycle of them.
Twice the fun.
It's
The
also
art,
above. It's like a 4 mana 3/5 flying. Like, okay, that's like
Yeah.
actually somewhat decent, right? And then
That
it gets
easily
indestructible
becomes indestructible. Yeah.
for fun, and then you double everything, further making it indestructible. So yeah, good luck removing this thing. Void Red doesn't help you.
Yeah, this does not. Jesus. Yeah, this is
how
like
good
so
is this
powerful.
card? What do you think, Grim? Like, is this a playable card outside of Commander?
No. Probably not, because I'm thinking it alone is just a creature. I don't know what kind of deck do I want it in standard.
I think you would play it in a proliferate deck, perhaps.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. That is
What is
correct.
this proliferate deck, Seth? What is the payoff?
I mean, Planeswalkers? Like, maybe it's could you play this in a Super Friends deck, do you think, Grim? Is it worth it? Because we got the other, to tie in with this, one of the things I noticed about this set is Proliferate's actually very aggressively costed in this set compared to past costs, where there's, Drowned in Ichor, 2 mana, sorcery, target creature gets -4/-4, proliferate. Like, a decent removal spell that also proliferates. Whisper of the Dross, 1 mana, target creature gets -1/-1, instant speed proliferate. There's the literally anticipate, except it also proliferates for some reason. Is there any way that all this proliferate stuff that's competitively costed can combine with this and make a real Super Friends deck? Or you're the Super Friends expert, would you not even want that? And you're just like, my Planeswalkers are good enough, why would I fill my deck with Tekuthals and proliferate cards?
Yeah. I mean, well, the proliferate cards, if they're just attached to a spell I would normally play, let's just say in this case, an anticipate. Yeah, maybe I'd look at that. This card, probably not. Because why? I mean, there's only 60 cards unless we're playing Yorion, and maybe like 61 if you're feeling saucy, right? And so like pretty much I if you're playing a Super Friends deck, you need sweepers, you need things to actually keep yourself alive. So I don't think I'm putting Tekuthal into any of the decks that I'm currently playing. It just looks like a commander card right now. It does seem like a good body just because of that last mode, because you are able to give it indestructible. I do like that you can remove counters from other artifacts, so oil counters, including creatures and whatnot, and from your planeswalkers. So if you just remove 3 of them and pay like 4 life, this dude is now just there forever. So pretty good.
I don't know what the payoff is in standard either. Like that, if it's not going to be in Super Friends, I guess you got +1/+1 counters. There's like the oil counters, but they're kind of in awkward colors for this. So maybe it's not worth. I think out of this whole cycle, this seems like the narrowest to me. A lot of the other ones are like, oh, double damage, double your death triggers, double your ETB triggers, double proliferate. Pretty niche, I think, to some extent. What do you think, Richard? Can this?
I got you.
do
It's
anything?
called poison control. Okay, you hit them with 1 poison counter, and then for the rest of the game, you just play like removal or whatnot that just proliferates. And after 10 spells, they're dead. And like that's all you. And then this thing is perfect. It's like a 3/5 indestructible body that furthers your game plan. You just hit them with more removal, proliferate some more, keep getting that poison up. So can we build poison control?
Actually, so I was working on the 30 under.
counterspell.
There is. I was working on the 30 under 20 article, and one of the decks I had in there, and that'll be up in a couple days, but one of the decks I had in there was a poison control deck, because there's multiple cards that just give your opponent a poison counter. You don't even need to play like a toxic creature to hit your opponent. There's like a 3 mana draw 2, lose 2, your opponent gets a poison counter. And then there's a bunch of like randomly decent spells that also happen to proliferate. 3 mana counter spell, proliferate, anticipate, proliferate. So maybe there's like a creature free poison, or almost creature free poison control deck. What do you think about that, Krim? Any merit to trying to poison your opponent in a control deck?
It's definitely really solid, like a way to just close out the game. I love that kind of play style. I don't know, like you need like a blink moth, or I mean an ink moth, right, to also like help back that up a little bit. But otherwise, I actually don't know if there's enough things that can kind of just poison the opponent or toxic the opponent out. I haven't seen anything.
Literally 0 win con control. Like you actually have no win con. Like just all your cards like like just come with a proliferate, and you hope it gets there. The problem with this thing is like control is really bad in 2023, especially like
It is
reactive control. Like the minute something hits the board and you can't deal with it, you're dead. Right. So most of the control we see is a lot more like proactive. Like they put planeswalkers on the battlefield and they do stuff because, you know, you need to actually take your windows of strength and do something with them rather than just sit there and let your opponent, you know, drop a Shieldred and then you have no answer and then you die. Right. So control kind of sucks, but maybe we can make this work. Poison control.
You could poison people out pretty quickly, I think, if you chain together some of those anticipates and you're double proliferating. Plus, there's a couple of good payoffs for Corrupted for control that, like Anoint with Affliction, 2 mana instant, exile a creature, mana value 3 or less. But if you're corrupted, your opponent's corrupted, it just exiles any creature for 2 mana. That's pretty good. And then there's the
Bring the Ending.
2 mana, bad mana leak, counter a spell unless its controller pays 2. But if you corrupt your opponent, then it's a 2 mana hard counter, a mana leak that stops anything. Those seem like rewards for trying to poison your opponent out in a control deck. So I don't know, we'll see. It should be interesting.
All right. Next up, we have Ria Ivor, Bane of Bladehold. 2 white and a black, 3/4 Phyrexian Knight at rare with Battle Cry. At the beginning of combat on your turn, the next time target creature would deal combat damage to 1 or more players. Prevent that damage. If damage prevented this way, create that many 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature tokens with Toxic 1, and this creature can't be blocked.
So I
you
need y'all
fog
to
a
explain
creature
this to me.
and you make that many 1/1s that have Toxic and can't block. Exactly. Basically. And you have Battle Cry.
So I'm playing standard. I play a Phyrexian Fleshgorger or a Graveyard Trespasser or some like decent 3-drop. Next turn I drop this. do I really want to prevent my 3 damage to make 3 1/1s? Like, is this the worst card in the set by a huge margin? What situations would you choose to prevent the damage to make might tokens? Like, I feel like either this card is just horrible or I'm missing something very obvious, because I don't understand why I would ever want to prevent the damage to my own creatures to make 1/1s that can't block.
Well, the next combat you make it up if everything hits, right? So the 1/1s are actually 2/1s with Battle Cry, right? With the Battle Cry activates. You're also going wide with Toxic, like you can try to poison them out. You have things like Wedding Announcement still, so going wide pumps you further. Would you actually do all of that? All your eggs in one basket? Probably not.
So it's kind of a delayed gratification thing. Like, you prevent 3 damage now, but you're getting these 3 1/1s, and then you Battle Cry it, so they're actually 2 1s, and then maybe you have other ways to pump them. So you're getting like damage would suspend 1, like Double Strike would suspend 1. Kind of is the idea of what this card's trying to do.
It might be. I'm not sure here. Like, I don't know why you would. Like, even all of that is just like, wow. No, I don't want to do all of that.
4
like
4
that
drop, right? It's only a 3/4.
In one
As
of
legendary,
the
just for fun.
highly contested like areas when it comes to mana value in standard, in the color that has so many good 4 drops, like so many good 4
White
drops.
and black both do. Yeah, they're cool. So many good cards. I like the callback to Hero of Bladehold. Remember that card? That card
This
was
is not
sweet
Hero
Yeah.
a
of
decade
Bladehold.
ago.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
definitely. That card was actually good, yeah.
All right. Speaking of boomer throwbacks, Krim, Thrun, Breaker of Silence. You thought Tyrannus Rex wasn't enough. 3 green, 5 legendary creature, Troll Shaman at rare. This spell cannot be countered. Trample. Thrun can't be the target of non-green spells your opponents control and abilities from non-green sources your opponent controls. As long as it's your turn, Thrun is indestructible.
So that's after last week, Krim I'll just Void Rend it. I was like, hey, Void Rend this one, Krim.
Yeah, you can't Void Rend this one. I have to now. Like, control is already dead. Why do you make it more dead? Like, we get it. You'll want to make so everybody can close out games faster. Why does this exist? I mean, dude, like it just like literally you can't I get it. Not green, no. That's I got it. So this is the most miserable like card ever, but at the same time, control is so dead. I don't understand the purpose of this.
Toxic Control must have gone wild during their testing. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know why we need like 5/5 is not big enough, right? Like if you're playing a normal creature deck, you can block Thrun, right? If you have a bigger creature, I guess you can't chump Thrun. Let's say
trample.
like it's just, even if you can't deal with it, it's like an obliterator. You just take 5 every turn until you do something useful, right? So I don't know what it's here for, other than like really hosing like draw go control or something. Like what do you do with Thrun?
Is it? Well, I mean, what about like a Boggles deck? I'm always looking for cheap hexproof style creatures. What about loading up with auras? It is 5 mana.
The 5 mana Boggle.
Which is a lot. That's true. But we got like Blanchwood armor. We got Audacity. There's some good green auras that you can put on it, which is kind of interesting. Do you think this card's good, Grim? How does this compare to like Carnage Tyrant or Shifting Ceratops? Like on the same tier as those cards as like Blue Hate, or
This is way better than like, like I would say this is probably more along the lines of like what an actual Carnage Tyrant would look like in the current year, as opposed to the other big dino. That like this is just really solid in that department if you're looking for like reactive control hate for some odd reason, if that takes up. Otherwise, you've played a 5/5 that still gets, edicted, dunked on by like Sheoldred because they'll trade at the very least.
No, indestructible.
It is indestructible.
Wait,
well,
you survive the
so
death touch.
you can attack into it, but you can't block a Sheoldred with it. Yeah,
great. Of course, it has more text. It just keeps growing. I don't know. I mean, like it is a sticky. It'll stay, right? Unless you have like a Sheoldred's edict now and a sweeper. Those are the only things that you can do to it. You can't Wandering Emperor this. You can't do any of that. So I don't know. I mean, this seems like a pretty resilient threat, but is this like a main deckable card? Probably not. I think this is a sideboarded card.
Do we have 2 mana double strike or something? Like you could go like Dork 4-drop and then 1-shot kill someone with like double strike pump or something.
Ooh.
Isn't there the whatever the Tyvar's 1 mana X and then you give it hexproof and then pump it?
Yeah, that's not double strike though, right?
Oh,
It's just pumping, I think.
Right.
But still, like you do have that. There's good auras. I know there's equipment that give double strike. We just got a new one that gives double strike. I don't know about a cheap spell though. Like I don't know if we have a 1 or 2 mana just give a creature double strike spell.
You have 5 mana to augment Thrun to 1-shot someone when you untap, right? Maybe 6. So I think that would be like big boggles.
Okay, there's
right?
Twin Inferno, 2 mana instant speed, give a creature double strike. I think that's
Perfect.
the closest thing that we have to doing that. I don't know, like a good sideboard card at least. I'm actually kind of high on mono green. We'll see how it keeps up with the black decks, but mono green has a lot of good cards now. Thrun, I think, to me looks like a sideboard all-star for like mono green. Or if we end up in a world where there's a Drago control everywhere, then this is very good. We've seen in the past, like Shifting Ceratops, it didn't see a ton of main deck play, but that was a very important card for its standard. So we'll see what the meta looks like. If it gets Drago-y, then Thrun goes up in value quite a bit.
We have Phyrexia Obliterator in the format. The minute mono green has like anything, all the boomers will be like, finally, it's our time to shine. Phyrexia Obliterator.
Yeah, I guess Obliterator does kind of wreck them, doesn't it?
It really does.
Just
wow.
fight it. Just fight it down with the Thrun, and you'll be
Yeah,
fine.
that's a great idea. Like
Thrun's indestructible.
pump it up
It's
a
fine.
ton before you fight it, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Red Sun's Twilight. X, red. Sorcery at rare. Destroy up to X target artifacts. If X is 5 or more, for each artifact destroyed this way, create a token that's a copy of it. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step.
So standard, man, whatever. It could be a sideboard card. There are some powerful, Portal to Phyrexia, all the Brothers War stuff. So it's a fine sideboard card for standard. I'm very curious how stapley this is for Commander. So you have stuff like Byforce is 1 mana in X to blow up X artifacts. That sees a decent amount of play. You got Vandal Blast, obviously, which is 5 mana to blow up all your opponent's artifacts. This one's a little more expensive, but if you're casting it for a lot of mana, getting token copies, even for a turn, is pretty sweet. Obviously, you want to live the dream and get their Portal to Phyrexia and their busted stuff, but if you just blow up a bunch of mana rocks, this is kind of a weird free spell, because then you can tap all your opponent's soul rings that you blow up to make back the mana that you spent on this. How good is this in Commander? Can you jam this in just any red deck? Is it worth it?
I don't know if this is a every deck thing. This is it's interesting. I don't know. I like it in Commander, but it just doesn't feel like a staple. It feels like it's going to be overcosted most of the times. And then it's nice to be able to get the Soul Ring mana and kind of pay for itself, but I don't know. This doesn't feel like you only get all the stuff destroyed this way. Right? If it X is five or more.
Yeah, 5 or more.
It's got to be at least 7 mana spent on it to be able to steal this stuff for a turn.
So if I don't, let's just say that I don't hit that, right? I don't hit the 7. Is this good there?
No.
Not
It'd be
great.
3 mana,
Byforce
kill
would
1
definitely be
artifact.
better, yeah.
Right. So every rate before X is 5 is awful. Awful. So I don't know. I just don't think this card is that good. It's cute. It'll be funny. You'll get some people, but is it a staple? No.
I don't know about awful. 4 mana blow up 2, 5 mana blow up 3. I don't know if awful, I would say. It's not efficient, but what do you think, Richard?
Even at X5, you kind of need to snipe all the mana rocks to make this quote unquote free. But what about the stuff you actually wanted to kill? Right? The actual scary artifacts. If someone had a bunch of treasures or something, or a bunch of clues, you want to target them all, then you're not going to get the refund. So I don't actually think it's that good. And even 7 mana is a lot of mana, and you're just getting random artifacts which refund you. I don't think that's even enough. So I don't think this is playable. I'd rather just play a Chaos Warp and call it a day. If you really cared about it, just play a like the key of Vandal Blast is for 1 mana you can snipe the artifact you actually cared about, right? Like you don't have to overload it. Whereas this one, it's like 3, it's pretty slow, and then at 7, you're not even wiping the board. If someone like just went off with Smothering Tithe, like you didn't really do anything here, right? So like, I don't know. I don't think it's staple. It's certainly playable somewhere, but I don't think it's staple level.
Think of blowing up. All your opponents have a Solemn, and you blow up each one, and then you get 3 lands, and then they sacrifice. Oh my goodness! Think of the value. Y'all are thinking too small. But yeah, I mean, You're probably right. It's not very efficient, but boy, it seems fun. I'm gonna jam in some decks just because it seems really fun. And we'll see.
If all your opponents
are
playing artifact combos, like one person has like a,
you will get Tomer.
You will get Tomer, and another person.
You get Tomer's mana base. You get Phil's Portal to I really want to see Phil finally do his Portal to Phyrexia thing, and then someone just do this and steal it and kill him with with the portal.
You can remove indestructibility with Shadow Spear or whatever, and then like take Kuldra with it. You know, like
yes.
For 1 turn. Oh wait, but you can't do anything because you can't.
You make a 4/4,
like 50 mana,
and then you end the game.
Oh boy!
All right, next up we have Sheoldred's Edict. 1 in a black, instant, and uncommon. Choose one. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. Each opponent sacrifices a planeswalker.
This is what uncommons look like, huh?
It's uncommon. It is power crept. Every edict. Okay. Is it better than Doomblade? Like, 2 mana removal. Like, do you play this in Modern now? Or do you do anything with this?
No.
Is this playable?
I don't know about, actually, no, Modern, Modern, it's not as good, but Pioneer at Forward, I do think it is good. I think it's really good. This is like absurd, right? Like you get just 2 mana, answer a Planeswalker. Like at instant speed, that's just a Doomblade for a Planeswalker. This makes, I don't know about like just straight up like creatures and whatnot. I mean, the ability to force them to sack a non-token and or choose a token specifically is really nice. So I do love that, and its applications for Pioneer, Explorer, stuff like that, and Standard, obviously. But the ability to just 2 mana get a Planeswalker off the board is absurd. I feel like this. I know that people don't like Planeswalkers. There's people that don't, and they think that it's a mistake in the game. I am on the other side of that. I love Planeswalkers. I love everything about it. But strictly talking about power, like they are trading 2 mana for your 5 mana Planeswalker, right? Now Planeswalkers, this is the thing where I think this card makes Planeswalkers need to be okay.
Planeswalkers need ETBs now.
Yeah, like I know this is gonna sound bad, but like they might need to be power crept. Like this card makes it so every Planeswalker is such a bad rate, even if you're just doing one thing. If you were doing one of any Planeswalker activation, you now need to. It has to be worth it. Like this card is just, it's gonna sit there. They like normally this is, you have no creatures, I'd sideboard it out, but dude, no, it hits Planeswalkers. This is really good.
I mean, I think it's fine. I don't know if like 2 mana destroy a Planeswalker, is it that groundbreaking? We have like Dreadbore, Fateful Absence,
at instant speed,
Angrass Rampage. I mean, like, Fateful Absence isn't standard, and it's 2 mana blow up a creature, Planeswalker. You do give your opponent a clue, which is a drawback. And that doesn't even see that much play. I don't know. Like, I mean, I think the card's the best Edict we've seen, but I don't know if it's, like, a game-changing card. Is it?
Wait.
Is it actually that good?
Fated Absence giving your opponent a card is all the world's difference, right? Like, I mean, it is something that allows them to get back into the game depending on whatever they've removed. They could have just drawn a second copy. This allows you to just get rid of that, but has the like versatility of also hitting a token, non-token, like Fated Absence, but you don't have to worry about it. It's like, Fated Absence is more of an emergency big red button kind of thing. Like, I got to get rid of that. This just like it sits around, it does what you want it to do, but like they don't get a draw card or a clue or whatever. And it's so easy to cast. And black's already one of the more dominant colors in the standard. So I don't know. I mean, I look at this and I assume that if this becomes a 4 of, I'm just going to jam every planeswalker I can at the curve so that the real one can stay. I'm just going to jam 3 drops left and right. I'm going to jam as many of them. Good Lord, I'll throw Dovin Bond or whatever into the deck, just to eat an edict.
You got to play bad ones
work,
here. Good
right?
ones stick
because
around.
Here's why this card's so good, right? Either you edict the planeswalker directly, or you edict the creature protecting the planeswalker, and then you smash it with your own creatures. And if you don't play a planeswalker, opponent's not punished, right? They just kill, the creature, right? And if you want to play around edicts, what do? You go wide. How do you go wide? You make tokens. This gets around that, right? So this is just super efficient removal. And, it's not going to shatter the game, right? But it's one step closer to power creep. And then we really are talking about my planeswalker needs a static. It needs to +1 once, and it needs to gain so much value that it will overtake any edict that comes down. But if you do that, if it sticks around an extra turn, you get that so much value again, and now your planeswalker is OP, right? And then so you're gonna end up in this weird power creep state, and you're gonna end up with the Ragavan of planeswalkers. This is how we got to Ragavan, right? We started with Doomblade, and then we ended at Fatal Push or whatever, and free removal and 2-for-1 removal with Fury and stuff like that, right? You're just gonna have to have the Ragavan of planeswalkers where they come down and snowball out of control just to overcome this removal. And I don't like where that's going. I don't like how planeswalkers are so easy to remove now. And I think we'll see the consequences of this in 2 or 3 more sets where you will need hyper efficient Renin 6s or something that get immediate value to overtake anything. And you're does it die to Shieldred's Edict? Right? And that'll be the question you ask for every planeswalker.
I kind of feel like it's the opposite way, and planeswalkers have been super power crept since War of the Spark with static abilities. Even we were just talking about last week in this set how so many of the planeswalkers ultimate immediately. You do how these planeswalkers would be more relevant for Commander because you can just play them and overrun or play them and do whatever. They're mill a bunch of cards with Jace. So I almost feel like this is trying to catch up with the power creep we've seen in planeswalkers. Maybe it ends up being a bad thing. We'll see. I do like the non-token mode in a World of Wedding announcement. I think that's a huge deal because so many decks incidentally have a random token to sacrifice. So it does improve your odds of getting rid of a Thrawn or getting rid of a card that actually matters. And I guess 2 mana, get a planeswalker or creature, that can't be bad. So I think the card's good, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna change.
Do you play do you play targeted removal in Standard, or do you play Shieldred's Edict now? I guess that's my question.
I mean, you're playing 1-for-1 threats anyways, right? Every threat your opponent plays is just I'm going to play spend my turn, drop a 4/4 for 4, or spend my turn, play a Thrun, or my turn 5, right? That's a 5 mana 5/5. So right now it is really just big bombs, hit the board, pass. You're not really seeing too many multi spells and stuff like that. So I think this is just better.
Yeah, so for me, I think it depends on how many planeswalkers are running around. Also, I guess stuff like Thrun, if there's a lot of Thruns or other things that you can't kill in other ways. But I feel for this card to be better than Go for the Throat or another 2 mana creature removal spell, I gotta feel there's a decent chance I'm getting planeswalkers sometimes. Because if I'm playing against soldiers, or I'm playing against mono red, or I'm playing against Grixis, decks that don't have any planeswalkers, I would rather know for sure I'm killing your Shieldred than be there's some chance I'm hitting a Corpse Appraiser that already drew my opponent a card and the Shieldred's living or whatever. So I feel if you're not playing against a lot of planeswalkers, targeted removal is just better still.
We know Wanderer, Wanderer, Sorin, stuff like that is in the metagame. We know the Dominus cycle is here that give themselves indestructibility.
Yep.
We have Thrun, the big dino, with Ward.
We can avoid Ward. You can kill. So Rafine, you typically can't kill because Rafine is actually the one deck that goes wide with non-tokens. So I don't know. It's kind of close.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
You're not guaranteed to get rid of the creature that you want to, but there is a ton of upside. Getting indestructible creatures, getting planeswalkers, and the token thing helps.
Yeah, if you want to play one creature at a time though, and you remove the other one. Like Lily typically isn't a problem, but it's just the tokens that like kind of hose Lily, right? But you have like Blood Tithe Harvester or whatever. You pick off the small thing, then you edict the big thing, right? Like, so I'm actually curious. I actually think this will actually see a lot of play in Standard.
Could we just have a targeted edict? Like, could a card that's just like target player sacrifices target creature? Like, could that exist?
No, because you want to get around hexproof, right? Isn't that the whole point of an edict? Why not just make it a destroy at that point? What's the sacrifice for?
I guess that's true. Getting rid of indestructibility, I guess, would be, or
exile,
having more control over the edict.
Then you exile it instead.
Yeah, interesting.
So good.
All right. Is this modern playable? No.
I don't know about
do we
modern.
Need to do this? They ever troll you? You're like, haha.
Maybe. I mean, Angrass Rampage is showing up in Pioneer, so I think this is better Angrass Rampage. So I think it'll show up in Pioneer. Modern, that's a bigger jump to make, I think.
Commander? No. I think it's way worse than Commander, right? People have all kinds of dirtily things sitting around. You never want to. I don't know. You can even edict the planeswalkers you want to edict.
I mean, like this is if you were playing an edict before, this is a strict upgrade.
Maybe it is each opponent, right? So you're getting 3 creatures for.
Oh, is it each opponent?
Yeah, I believe it's each opponent. Yeah.
Oh wait, this is really good then.
Yeah, so I think because it's each opponent, it might actually be pretty good in Commander.
All right, Venerated Rot Priest, a single green, Phyrexian Druid at rare. It's a 1/2 toxic 1. Whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter.
So
Poison Storm.
I've gotten infinite bruise from people. This is the most brewed around card, at least with Goldfish viewers. I have gotten so many bruise trying to kill people with this card in some sort of like storm shell where you're gonna like play this and then protect it, target it a bunch of times. From Standard all the way back to Modern, people are just like all about trying to kill people with this card. Is that a realistic plan? Like, so when I first saw it, it's like, oh, okay, you maybe like play it in a toxic deck or an infect deck as like a protection spell. If your opponent kills your thing, they get a poison counter, or if you cast a pump spell, you get a poison counter. That makes sense. Is there actually a chance this could work as a combo piece, like storming off with this card?
I mean, what, you play Bant or something like that, then you get all the protection spells you could ask for, Spell Pierce, things like that.
Or like Blossoming Defense, so you target it and they get a poison counter and they try to kill it, and then you Blossoming Defense again. There's also people like Ground Rift in Modern is like 1 mana storm, target creature can't block. So if you storm up high enough, you just target this with all the copies of Ground Rift, and each one is a poison counter.
This card does seem pretty cool. I think that sounds really fun. I don't know if it seems extremely fragile in a way where like this is the only effect you have like that in the deck. So if this goes bye-bye, like you actually cannot come back unless you have multiples.
That was kind of my concern too, is there isn't really a backup. So you have to draw this and then it has to stay on the battlefield. So
and not get Sheoldred's Edict, by the way.
Yeah, kind of feels like an against the odds deck to me, where it's gonna like some percentage of the time you're gonna win in this hilariously epic way, but the rest of the time you just kind of like do nothing.
If only it had Infect. If it had Infect, it would be a Glistener Elf strict upgrade, and then maybe we could play it in older formats.
This would be busted if it like absolutely.
I'm not even sure it'd be busted. I'm not even sure Infect is that good anymore, but it would be playable.
I feel like this still might be playable in Modern, in fact, in some number. It's one of the cards that's on my modern list of modern playables. So I know it looks weird, and I know it looks so. It's only getting in for 1. It's only getting in for 1 poisons. Toxic is a big downgrade, but anytime you target something with a pump spell, you get a free poison counter, which is nice. Anytime your opponent tries to kill your stuff, which they're going to do, they get a poison counter, which is nice. So this is going to deal a surprising amount of poison counters, even with only having Toxic 1. And then even in fact, there's this really janky, weird combo with Spellskite, where if you have your Spellskites going, they can redirect to each other. So you just bounce a spell back and forth, and each one is a poison counter because of Rot Priest, and you can like burn someone out that way. So I almost think this could show up, probably not a 4 but I think it could show up in Modern, in fact.
I think it could show up in Modern if Modern in fact exists. Like this could go there.
I mean,
It's
modern
just-
infect is like scale up one pump spell, you're dead, and it can't get there. Like you're proposing like 4-card combo. Like,
Well,
like what?
there is the unassuming part of infect where people forget that you can, just kill somebody with normal damage.
Yeah,
Right,
this
like-
is
like-
good for the
like-
backup plan.
So when you're on the noble hierarch plan of beatdowns,
Yeah.
this actually progresses both game plans at once, right? They get toxic one
Yeah.
while you're hitting them with the normal damage.
Right.
So, What
like
about
I think it
standard?
could.
Do we have enough like cantrip things to like actually kill people?
So
That
I mean,
part-
obviously you're in a toxic deck in standard. Like I think it's a key 1-drop if your goal and like green, white, green, black. Those are the big toxic colors. I think some of the best toxic colors. So I think it'll see play there. What about the storm plan, Krem? Is there enough cantrippy protection spells to make that actually work in standard?
So you would need red, as well, so that you could have the red. Is that card still in standard? The red one that checks for every other copy in the graveyard. I forgot what it's called, and it pumps and then it draws a card. Then there's
ancestral.
ancestral rage
Ancestral
or something like that. Yeah, that one. Like if that's still in standard, you would need red. But I'm thinking of the colors that you have in green, black, and let's just say for the sake of so it'd be in Jund. So it would be Jund toxic. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I mean, I don't think you're going to be all in on it. Like, yeah, it's cute and funny if you want to try to be all in on this. That's great. But like, I think that this is one of those decks where this is every threat will just kind of just passively have toxic and and if it's going to work, it's not going to be just because of this card. This card is going to be one of the better cards in the deck, though. I think it's good. I think it's good. It's good.
I think it's definitely good played fairly. I'm still not sure the combo would be consistent enough to be competitive. My guess is it's going to be a good against the odds episode, but maybe not a real deck. But I think played fairly, that's a good toxic 1-drop.
Yeah.
Is it a Shieldred counter? You know how people like drop a Shieldred, they're like, haha, I outgain your aggro now by gaining life every turn, but you're like, surprise, toxic. I poison you to death.
Yeah.
Is it like the commander damage safety valve in standard now to prevent this life gain?
It sort of is. Like, that is an upside, I think, of toxic and poison counters. Like, no matter how much life your opponent gains with their Shieldred, you can still just kill them. I don't know. What do you think of toxic? Like, as a mechanic, like, how do you think we'll see real toxic decks in standard, Krim?
No.
No,
like,
not good
like,
enough.
Okay, so actually, yeah, Bloated Contaminator.
That card's good.
That card's really good. I think Venerator Rot Priest is good in that said deck. There's like that 1-drop in black. There's like the new Plague Stinger. I think you know what? It won't be like how Infect plays. It'll just be a mid-range deck.
Basically, yeah, because you don't want the pump spells and stuff. Although the corrupt mechanic's pretty interesting, and we talked about a few with the poison control deck at the beginning of the cast. But there's a few cards that, like, if you get 3 poison counters, become pretty strong. So there is like kind of a reward for poisoning your opponent even before you get to 10 poison counters, which was one of the issues with Infect last time. Is like either your opponent has 10 poison counters and you win, or anything else, like you're just doing nothing essentially. Like it doesn't even matter. So I think the corrupt mechanic might make it playable. I think there's enough like proliferate, enough corrupt payoffs, and enough just like good enough toxic cards. I wouldn't be surprised. We'll see. I mean, who knows what matches up with the top tiers of the meta? Like, it's so hard to predict stuff like that. Is it better than Shieldred and Invoke Despair and Soldiers? That I don't know, but there's enough to make a good deck, I think.
I mean, you either go Jund or you go Bant in these 2 colors. Bant does actually have some, or I mean, like Brokers or whatever. There's a bunch of sweet stuff there in white, but they're not as cheaply costed. So, like, you're, like, I don't know, maybe it's not Bant. Maybe it's back in Jund. I don't know. It's one of those color pairs, though.
I think you can go Sultai and play
if it doesn't have
like a
Triome,
tempo
I'm
deck.
scared.
Like you have Thrumming Bird and stuff, right? Like you maybe not control, but you go tempo and you just keep hitting them and proliferating them, and like you just get enough to get them to 10. And if you are short of 10, you get the corrupt bonus and stuff like that. So
Is this where Tekuthal comes in?
this this could be a deck. I think this could be a deck.
Monicon.
I could see like a tempo style deck where you just chip away and then you just like stall out a little bit and then they're dead. And Shieldred doesn't save them. Like if everyone's leaning on Shieldred to save them against aggro, like that doesn't work. So I actually kind of like it that it's like aggro, but life gain doesn't help you.
And there's enough proliferate that if you can get someone up to like 7 or something, it is realistic that you can proliferate or use like direct poison damage to close it out. So
you get reach and non-reach colors, right? You don't have to play red for that burn to finish them off. You can just proliferate twice or whatever and kill them. So.
Yeah, blue burn, green burn. Yeah. Well, we will see shortly because this set will be out soon. But we gotta hit up another topic real quick. I gotta ask you about this before the cast ends. Big news this week in the Hasbro world, which is Hasbro had a pretty bad fourth quarter. Apparently, they could not sell many toys for Christmas and the holidays, and their profits are way down. Although they did mention Wizards in specific still doing good, up I think they said 3% on the year and like 22% in the quarter or something. So Wizards, Magic, D&D, that part is still doing well, but because of the weak holiday quarter, Hasbro cutting 15% of its workforce, around 1,000 employees are going to be fired essentially. What do you make of this? Obviously, it sucks for everyone losing their jobs. That's a given. What do you make of this in the context of Magic? Like, does Magic get a free pass because they're the one aspect of Hasbro that's actually making them money? Or does Hasbro think, well, they're doing so well, we can afford to, cut some people off of WotC because, they're doing well enough that they won't miss them? Like, do you think these layoffs and firings will hit on Magic at all?
I don't think so, right? I mean, I hope not. I mean, like, obviously it sucks that anybody has to. Yeah, like, it sucks that it happened in Hasbro, but like, I don't know. I mean, these two companies, these are now like what I think of, like when I think of like the properties and IPs that are spearheading Hasbro, and they're doing just great. So I don't know. I mean, I think they're okay.
Yeah,
what do you think, Richard?
I mean, this is all just like excuses to fire people, right? Like kind of like COVID or economic downturn. They're like, well, since everyone is laying off everyone, like Google, everyone, right? Like if we lay off some people here too, like no one will notice. We'll just say bad economic whatever, right? And then cool, we'll save some money. So on that hand, I'm not particularly happy because like, how much is the CEO making? Probably still a lot, right? Like did you actually need to fire everyone this year? Probably not, right? You just wanted to increase your share price, right? You probably could have just weathered the storm for a year and, so in that sense, it's like kind of a cop out, but all companies do it. They're just looking for some excuse to, fire people without getting the backlash. Is Wizards safe? I don't think so, right? Because if our plan is to unsustainably print cards to make money in the short term, well, the reckoning will come in the future. And is that when all the Wizards employees lose their jobs? As an employee, it's terrible because you don't get to choose where you work. You work at Hasbro. If you're assigned to, Magic Arena free money printing machine, good for you. If you're assigned to like dying Monopoly business or something, like, you don't really have a say in that, right? And to lose your job based on that kind of sucks. So I don't know. But it's not good, right? Like you want Hasbro to be making money hand over fist in all their departments, right? It's good that at least Magic is making money, but how long can that be the case where like Hasbro's bleeding money everywhere and then only Wizards of the Coast makes money? So you want Hasbro to be strong all around, and then you want Wizards to do their own thing and not kind of prop up the rest of the company, right? Because again, like I said before, this means more secret layers, right? This means the only place that makes money is Wizards of the Coast, so we better milk all that money out, right? So expect some secret layers or something coming up to bolster the numbers.
It's definitely frustrating that it's always the random employees that end up getting hurt. That like the people at the top make the bad decisions, and then we're like, oh, we'll just fire all the normal, like the regular employees. So that part's definitely infuriating to some extent. That it's always just the average Joe or whatever that ends up getting hurt because of this. It makes me wonder about that whole Atla Fox thing. Remember the activist investor, and everything in the spring of we got to split off Wizards. Hasbro is a horrible company. Wizards should be on its own. I mean, as much as I'm skeptical of hedge fund people, they probably are right. It is a shame that Wizards got to wear the ball and chain of Hasbro around their necks and just carry around this dying toy company that hasn't been relevant in 50 years or something. What does Hasbro have going for it outside of Magic or outside of Wizards? Anything? Is there any
Monopoly?
Transformers. Do kids care about Monopoly these days? My grandma, okay, Transformers, I guess.
G.I. Joe, Power. No. I know this because I follow the Hasbro toy lines, and every week people complain. So they released a PS5 Spider-Man figure or something. It was so much more expensive than a regular figure, but it came with nothing. And people are like, why are they expecting us to pay double the price? And I'm like, that's Hasbro. But they have toys. They have they sell Marvel toys. They sell
they
X-Men.
Do. Have you seen some of those old retro toys that they look like they're in the poorly packaged thing? They're poorly painted, or they're meant to look like that, and to capture the old 90s vibe
old
of
nostalgia,
it.
Right? That's all of Hasbro. They're just capitalizing on 90s nostalgia, from Magic to their toy line to the comic stuff. That's. In a way, it makes sense. They
gotta be hoping people like you, Richard, have fond memories of it from being a kid, and you're hey, get it for your kid, and then your kid becomes a Hasbro fan or whatever. That's
works.
Gotta be, yeah.
Between Magic the Gathering, Marvel Snap, and Hasbro Toys, who has sucked more money out of me in the last 6 months? It's Hasbro Toys, where I just buy random Hasbro toys from my childhood, right?
Yeah.
Because I play Snap, I don't actually spend any money there, but then I go buy toys, and I'm and I give Hasbro $100. I'm overpriced, but it's okay.
Speaking of Hasbro, one last update on the D&D stuff we'd been talking about. It seems like the D&D community ended up winning that one. Wizards essentially posted that they were giving up on getting rid of the open gaming license. They're keeping the original one. They did a survey, and the results were absolutely horrible for Wizards. Everyone hated the idea of getting rid of the OGL, and Wizards basically said, all right, we won't get rid of it. We'll stay with what we said. So they just completely backtracked, essentially. So it seemed like the big D&D freak out actually worked out, and the community got what they wanted, which is interesting. So
should we think about edicts?
No, but then we'll get more powerful planeswalkers. I'm not joining you on that.
What does this mean? Should we freak out about everything, Seth? It worked. It worked.
Although this was a very big thing. I think the risk is if you freak out about everything, then Wizards will just rightly tune us out. But it does show if something similar happened in the Magic community, that Wizards will, if there's enough backlash, will actually, change course. So I was amazed how many people care about this. Some of the tweets about this were getting 5,000, 10,000 retweets, which I didn't know the D&D community was that big. I'm so enfranchised in the Magic community, but it seems like it's way, way more D&D players than Magic players, even though Magic apparently makes way more money because of how the monetization works.
I mean, that's I'm not surprised, right? D&D is huge, and it had an even bigger boom after Stranger Things kind of brought it back to the front, into the limelight here. So, and it was already big before that. So, this is D&D is legitimately just mainstream, the purest mainstream.
I wonder why Hasbro didn't use the online community is just a small percentage of our fan base, and that they're very enfranchised and have different needs than the rest. I wonder why that didn't apply here. Why is that an okay answer for Magic, but not D&D? I'm sure there are many people that play D&D that don't go online and do anything, right? Why?
It's true.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is a little strange, isn't it? Oh, anyway. Can we sneak in a fish mail, you think, Richard? Is there enough time? Maybe
All
one?
right. If you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air. Chef Cheesy915, seeing old cards posted to Twitter and seeing the older mechanics of cards has me asking, what are some older mechanics you want to see return? If they did, would they be broken with the power of the cards we have today?
Ooh.
A returning mechanic.
A returning mechanic.
I mean,
I want to see them bring back mega banding. So like something that messes with combats. Like I think like maybe like the planar stuff with Space Bellerin is kind of similar, where like you mess with combat and like you make groups or something and like something happens. Maybe it's the battle mechanic coming up. Maybe that's like mega banding. I don't know. But I think banding was kind of cool, right? Like you change the rules of combat. So we bring that back with like 2023 design and make it less confusing and then do something with banding.
That would be interesting. I mean, this one isn't super old, but I'd love to see more Mutate. I feel like Mutate, it's such a cool idea, and it just like wasn't not enough cards or not the right standard for it to really do anything. I know it was only a couple years ago, but that would be one that I think would be cool to bring back or buy back. Is that just too busted? Is buyback just too good to ever bring back? I think it's a really sweet mechanic, but maybe it's just too strong.
I mean, I think about like how power crept things are. Imagine if imagine if Sheoldred's Edict just had buyback. Like I'm like
Growth
think about
Spiral with buyback. Yeah,
great.
That
Sounds like a great time. I don't know. I can't think of like any one older mechanic. Maybe. Well, Ikoria and all of that had cycling, but it wasn't like to the level that I thought it would be. I'm trying to think of like what other sets did I don't know.
Also,
you know what? I got it. Fateful Hour. I want to see Fateful Hour return. Yo, but like it actually has to be good. Like it has to be good. And I don't mean like, oh, well, Fateful Hour, now that you're at 5, you make a 6th token. No. I want to make I want it to be like, oh, well, if it's Fateful Hour, you make I don't know, Lingering Souls, same cost, same everything, but it just poops out like 5 angels that are 5/5s.
I was actually thinking about that the other. You know what the best Fateful Hour card is?
None.
Death Shadow.
Death Shadow. Okay, it really is.
Like if you make the card too good, people just will artificially reduce their life to 1 to trigger like the Fateful Hour. But
yeah,
you're right. The old cards never worked. Like I never saw anyone like surprise reversal Fateful Hour. Like they just died and like that was it.
Yeah.
Or it was like so underwhelming enough. You're like, okay, I get 5 more 1/1s, and then I still die to a lightning bolt. Okay, right? So
exactly.
yeah, I'd like to see that fixed.
I would. That could definitely use a power boost. And for those that don't know what Fateful Hour is, usually it's a card. It does some really bad thing, but when you are at 5 or less life, it does an even more mediocre thing.
A slightly less bad thing. Yeah.
It's just not good. So I want to see Fateful Hour return, but with an actual like reason to be at 5, or maybe a way to get out of that situation while you're at 5.
All right. So thank you for everyone who sent in questions this week. If you have future questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 418 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So Richard Graham, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we'll be back next week to talk about whatever goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have a great week, everyone. And this is a crew signing out.